Since the dawn of human conflict, the greatest threat to a marching army was never the enemy's artillery or their infantry. It was the microscopic killer hiding in the seams of their own clothing. Epidemic typhus, transmitted by the bite of the human body louse, was the ultimate reaper of armies. When soldiers are crammed together in freezing, muddy trenches without access to clean water or fresh clothing, body lice multiply at an explosive rate. When Napoleon invaded Russia, it wasn't the winter that destroyed his grand army. Typhus wiped out hundreds of thousands of his men before the snow even fell. During World War II, the German High Command was terrified of typhus. They remembered the devastating outbreaks of the First World War. And as the Wehrmacht pushed deep into the freezing, unsanitary expanses of the Eastern Front in 1941, their worst nightmare became a reality. To combat the microscopic threat, German engineers did what they always did. They built massive, complex, heavily engineered machines. The German military deployed Entlausungsanstalten, enormous, mobile delousing stations mounted on train cars and heavy trucks. Entire battalions of German soldiers had to strip completely naked in the freezing cold, hand over their uniforms, and wait while their clothes were blasted with high-pressure, lethal steam and chemicals. When the German logistics lines were intact, this system worked. But as the war dragged on, fuel shortages crippled the trains. You cannot steam clean uniforms if you don't have coal. By 1943, as the Eastern Front collapsed, the German delousing system broke down completely. Typhus swept through the Wehrmacht, killing thousands and draining the combat effectiveness of entire divisions. But when the German army faced the Americans in the West, they witnessed something that completely shattered their medical understanding. As American forces pushed into North Africa, Italy, and eventually Western Europe, they were fighting in the exact same horrific, freezing, mud-soaked conditions as the Germans. American infantrymen were living in flooded foxholes, wearing the same unwashed uniforms for weeks at a time. By all medical logic, the American lines should have been a breeding ground for epidemic typhus. Captured German military doctors, expecting to treat American prisoners of war suffering from severe infectious diseases, were absolutely bewildered. The American soldiers were dirty, exhausted, and covered in mud, but they were completely free of typhus. German intelligence officers frantically tried to figure out how the Americans were achieving this. Where were the massive American steam cleaning trains? Where were the mobile saunas? How was the U.S. Army keeping millions of men disease-free without massive logistical infrastructure dedicated purely to laundry? The answer was so simple, so completely pragmatic, that the German medical establishment couldn't comprehend it. The Americans hadn't built a better steam train. They had simply bypassed the machine entirely with a two-pronged attack, a needle and a magical white powder. Before the United States even officially entered the war, American medical researchers were preparing for the threat of typhus. At the Rocky Mountain Laboratory in Montana, a scientist named Harold Cox achieved a monumental breakthrough. Instead of trying to harvest typhus bacteria from the stomachs of infected lice, a slow, dangerous, and incredibly low-yield process that European doctors relied on, Cox figured out how to inject the typhus pathogen directly into the yolk sacs of fertile chicken eggs. This simple biological hack allowed the United States to weaponize its massive agricultural industry for medicine. The U.S. government contracted millions of eggs from American farmers, transforming them into biological factories. By the time the American GI set foot in Europe, almost every single soldier had been injected with the Cox vaccine. The vaccine didn't prevent a soldier from catching lice, but it served as an invisible shield, drastically reducing the severity and mortality rate of the disease. While German soldiers were dying of typhus in agonizing fever dreams, the few Americans who did catch it usually only suffered a mild headache and a low-grade fever, returning to the front lines in days. But a vaccine was only half the battle. The U.S. Army still needed to kill the lice, and they did it with a chemical that would become legendary in the annals of military medicine: DDT. To a German doctor relying on massive, Coal-fired steam trains, the American method of delousing, looked almost comically primitive. The U.S. Army issued cheap, mass-produced metal hand-pump dusters to their medics. When a platoon came off the line, they didn't have to strip naked in the freezing cold. They didn't need to build a fire. An American medic would simply walk up to a fully clothed soldier, shove the nozzle of the hand pump down the soldier's collar, down his pants, and up his sleeves, and blast him with a thick cloud of pure white DDT powder. The entire process took less than 10 seconds per man. The DDT powder was an absolute miracle of military pragmatism. It was cheap, highly lethal to insects, and completely harmless to human skin in powder form. Best of all, unlike steam cleaning, which only killed the lice currently on the uniform, DDT powder clung to the fabric of the American uniform. It remained highly toxic to lice for up to 4 weeks, even if the soldier never washed his clothes. The ultimate proof of American medical supremacy occurred not on the battlefield, but in the ruined streets of Naples, Italy, in the winter of 1943. When the retreating German army abandoned the city, they destroyed the water supply and the electrical grid. Over 1 million Italian civilians were forced to hide in crowded, filthy, subterranean bomb shelters. A massive, terrifying typhus epidemic exploded among the civilian population. The German High Command confidently predicted that this epidemic would permanently stall the Allied advance. They believed the U.S. Army would be bogged down for months trying to quarantine and treat the massive city. Instead, the United States military unleashed the ultimate logistical flex. They didn't build quarantine camps. They built dusting stations on every street corner. Armed with millions of pounds of DDT and cheap hand pumps, American medics and hired Italian civilians began dusting the entire population of Naples. They dusted people on the sidewalks in their homes and in the train stations. In a single month, the U.S. Army physically pumped DDT powder down the shirts of over 1.3 million people. The epidemic, which should have killed tens of thousands and halted the war effort, was completely crushed in a matter of weeks. It was the first time in human history that a winter typhus epidemic was stopped dead in its tracks. When the war ended, the contrast between the two medical ideologies was stark. The Germans had treated disease like an engineering problem, building beautiful, complex machines that ultimately failed the moment the coal ran out. The Americans treated disease like a manufacturing problem. They realized that in the chaos of total war, you don't need a perfect machine. You need a fast, cheap, idiot-proof solution that can be deployed anywhere at any time by anyone. German doctors couldn't explain why American troops never caught typhus, because they were looking for a complex medical infrastructure that didn't exist. They failed to realize that the ultimate weapon against the oldest killer in warfare wasn't a massive mobile steam chamber. It was just a teenager from Ohio with a cheap metal hand pump, blowing a cloud of magic white dust into the freezing wind.